Good afternoon and welcome to the December Ordinary Council meeting. I would now like to hand over to Councillor Greg James to perform a welcome to country.
Thank you, Mayor Sally and my fellow councillors. And obviously this is the last welcome to country for this year. And can I take this opportunity to thank my Elders Council and the Greater Shepparton City Council for the opportunity to do my regular welcome to country presentations. Mayor Sally, it's an honour and also a privilege. So I just want to take that opportunity to thank the council and everybody else. I pay respects to our ancestors and I acknowledge our elders, both past, present and emerging. On behalf of the Order Elders Council, the 16 family groups and the 8 respected tribes who proudly share in the status of traditional owners, I say a very warm welcome to this wonderful land and waterways and wish everyone a lovely Merry Christmas and a safe Happy New Year.
Great.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor James. Item 2, acknowledgement. We, Greater Shepparton City Council, acknowledge the Yorta peoples of the land which now comprises Greater Shepparton. We pay our respect to their tribal elders. We celebrate their continuing culture and we acknowledge the memory of their ancestors. Item 3, privacy notice. This public meeting is being streamed live via our Facebook page and made available for public access on our website. Along with the official minutes of this meeting, all care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It is also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, including personal or sensitive information, to any person who accesses those recordings or minutes. Item 4, governance principles. Council considers that the recommendations contained in this agenda gives effect to the overarching governance principles stated in section 9(2) of the Local Government Act 2020. These principles are as followed and they're listed 1 to 9 on page 6 of the agenda. Item 5, apologies. Councillors, do we have any apologies this afternoon?
Yes, Mr Mayor, we have Councillor Seymour's right beside me. Councillor Fern Summer and Councillor Jeff Dobson have put in apologies.
Thank you very much. Item 6, declarations of conflict of interest. Councillors, do we have any conflicts this afternoon? I do have a conflict, councillors. Item 12.2, which is major and minor events grants round 1 for 2022-2023. I'm a committee member on the Albanian Muslim Society, which is being awarded funding for the Harvest Festival. Item 7, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. Are there any minutes of the previous meeting minutes proposed? No. Councillors, there is a recommendation. Can I have someone put that forward as a motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. If I may be permitted to move this motion, that the minutes of the 29th of November 2022 council meeting as circulated be confirmed.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Can I have someone second that?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks. All in favour? Motion carried. Item 8, public question time, nil received. Councillors, we now go to page 8 of the agenda, item 9, which is the petition regarding the intersection of Archer Street and Channel Road, Shepparton Vic, December 2022. Councillors, there is a recommendation. Can I have someone put that forward as a motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I put forward the recommendation that the council receive and note the petition entitled Petition Regarding the Intersection of Archer Street and Channel Road, Shepparton, Victoria, December 2022, in accordance with Governance Rule 81.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, second that motion?
I'll second the motion, Mayor Sally.
Councillor Adam. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just very briefly, thank you, Mayor Sally. That the particular intersection in question has been in the media of late, and certainly has been raised concerns by a number of residents living close by. Obviously, with the retirement villages close by as well, has been an intersection of major concern. Has been raised with councillors in recent times as well, and certainly that's been taken up with the administration here. So, look, I think with significant growth going out there, it'll be an intersection that will probably be looked at in the very near future.
Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? No. Councillor Brophy, closing comments?
No, thank you.
Councillors, we now go to vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 9 of the agenda, item 2.1, multicultural strategy update 2022. There is a recommendation. Can I have someone put that forward as a motion? Councillor Dewar.
I would like to move the recommendation on page 9 as a motion, and the recommendation says that the council, number 1, note progress made against the Greater Shepparton Multicultural Strategy 2019 to 2022 in year 3 of the strategy. Number 2, approve the recommendation that the multicultural strategy is diversified into a 3-year multicultural action plan that is integrated into the broader Greater Shepparton City Council plan. Number 3, note the next version of the multicultural action plan will contain an action that the mayor is to acknowledge culturally significant festivals observed by the multicultural communities in Greater Shepparton and issue a greeting message to the respective communities on the festival day.
Thank you, Councillor Abdullah. Can I have the councillor second that motion? Murphy.
Motion.
Councillor Abdullah, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I will. Thank you very much. Now, we know that the face of Australia is changing. We are more culturally diverse and we are more vibrant. And our own region, Greater Shepparton, it reflects Australia's changing demographics, where people from many faiths and many cultures they live and they enrich our community and our cultural landscape. So traditionally, the mayor and councillors, they've sent out Christmas greetings to our community on behalf of the council. It is an officially designated action for council. So the purpose of this notice of motion, which was tabled in the September ordinary council meeting, was A, to acknowledge Shepparton's changing demographics and cultural diversity, and B, to extend and adapt the tradition of sharing Christmas greetings to other culturally significant festivals that are celebrated by our multicultural communities and which are equally significant to Christmas that we are all celebrating now. And look, on the surface, it might seem like a small action and a small operational matter. However, for council, if it doesn't do so, it could portray council as oblivious to the acknowledgement of the diversity of our community, of our population, and overlooking the cultural inclusion practice to foster better community cohesion. So issuing a greeting message to the respective communities based on the significant festival dates in the calendar will show, hopefully, when it's included in the next strategy, it will show an improvement and progress on the current endeavors of our council to promote harmony and cultural diversity. I am glad to see the progress and the report that council officers have brought back to us today. And thanks to them for preparing this report and demonstrating the progress and determination of our council to include the mayor's greetings messages for culturally significant festivals in addition to Christmas. And I look forward to the report to the next version of our multicultural strategy when it's tabled in between June and July next year. So thanks very much, and I'm very pleased to see this progress.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sali. It is certainly an important and a significant platform, this particular strategy. I could speak about the importance of the multicultural strategy needed indeed here, but to some extent the strategy has been over decades, not been formalised, but had been a strategy by sheer osmosis. So the coming together of a cultural melting pot that is the Goulburn Valley is really quite incredible, and it is by any stretch been seen as an outstanding success and a model that many communities across Australia and indeed the globe would love to develop here. So to the strategy, the formalised strategy, the 2019-22 document can be ticked off as being inclusive, being mindful, being deliberate in intent, and picking up the gaps and finding really the jigsaw pieces to fit the collaborative puzzle that we have here in the Goulburn Valley. The valuing of the cultural diversity is imperative, and the support of multicultural and intersectional events and programs is a step up in the direction of valuing here. We need to be inclusive But we also don't need to do overkill as well. We don't need to put out communications acknowledging everything and sundry just to appease. It has to be significant and it has to be meaningful, as Councillor Abdullah had pointed out, the different ones there. We still have a long way to go in the interaction and engagement with some of sections of the new migrant population, as evidenced in the recent flood event. But these can be positive learnings, and from these learnings we can build and become even better, more inclusive and a diverse community.
Very good. Thank you, councillor Brophy. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion?
Yes, Mayor Sally, I will be brief. We always say briefly, but I will be brief. Generally, this is a great policy as such and a great strategy. It's most cities of our size and even smaller do have similar type strategies, but I believe Shepparton does it better than most, as we should, because of our huge multicultural community. It's continually evolving, and that's what is represented in this strategy. As things change, as different groups arrive in our municipality, and as they develop, we have to recognise, obviously, and we do. So just generally, I think it's great that we've got it, and I can see there's some changes here. As an example, you know, 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, there was no such thing as a St George's Road Food Festival. It does exist now because there's a need in the community for it to exist, and there's a large community, and I think that all adds to the harmony of the entire wider community. So I really support this.
Very good. Thank you, councillor Adam. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor James.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Sally. I just wanted to draw on the pledge event, which is part of the Refugee Week at the Greater Shepparton Secondary College. This was a great day. We had great representation from councillors attending that day, and a number of networks providing support on the day. But more importantly, it was the students that put on a great exhibition that day, and we heard some powerful stories from refugees, from a number of refugees in our community, and their stories and their journey, which I found absolutely fascinating. To hear of the journeys, you know, from where they were in their countries to here in a safe environment in Australia, and more importantly, to our community in Shepparton. It was just a brilliant day of culture, expression of culture and dance and music, and it's just part of our fabric here in Shepparton. It's the way that we do welcome people from other various cultural backgrounds, etc. This was just one example of the multicultural strategy, the valuable connections with support agencies and networking, the development offices, the multicultural society, and a range of networks emerging from this strategy is just a strength for this community. And the themes that we highlighted in the strategy too as well, of participation, access, and valuing cultural diversity. I think it's great the way that we address that. And I really look forward to the next stage, the development of our the plan, and I fully support, and I look forward to the recommendations from here onwards. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No, closing comments?
No, thanks.
Very good. We will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried and opposed. Councillors, we now go to page 15 of the agenda, item 11.1, contracts awarded on delegation November. There is a recommendation. Can I have someone put that forward as a motion? Councillor James.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I'd like to move the recommendation 11.1, contracts awarded under delegation, November, on page 15 of the agenda, and I shall read out the recommendation that the council, 1, note the contracts awarded under delegation pursuant to a formal tender process for the reporting period, and 2, note the requests tender advertised but not yet awarded.
Thank you, Councillor James. Can I have a councillor second that motion?
I'll second the motion, Mayor Sally.
Councillor James, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. In the first part, contracts awarded under delegated authority, there are 3 contracts. One is Shepparton East, which is the recreational path. Stage 2 is the Carabok Park. Stage 3, Maribna-Echuca Road shared path. And in the second part, there are 3 requests for tenders, and that's the Marlborough Drive upgrade, Monash Park, footpath renewal, and Ferrari Park Maribna irrigation renewal. Thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank you, councillor James. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Again, thank you, Mayor Sally. Just briefly, I mean, these are obviously pretty obvious contracts that have been awarded. There's 3 there, and as councillor James said, there's 3 that have been awarded, 3 still under evaluation. I just wanted to mention the Shep East Midland Highway recreational path. That's something that was started 3 or 4 years ago, if not longer. So it's just good to see these things come to fruition, especially for that general area out there.
Great, thank you, councillor Adam. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sali. I wholeheartedly endorse the recommendation as put forward, and particularly the added pathway connectivity and the recreational aspect that's been awarded in these particular contracts. And I'm sure additional works will be over the course of the coming months and perhaps even years will need to be undertaken, additional works in regards to path infrastructure that may well be significantly need repairing due to the flood event in October. So obviously we'll keep an eye out for that. I did make one mention that's written in the particular contract there is that the Italy-Garupna Children's Centre upgrade, and it states here that that particular contract has now been abandoned due to insignificant funding to complete the project. I just wanted to point out that for particularly the people around Italy-Garupna, that the upgrade is not being abandoned per se, it's the contract itself. So I think it went out to tender, we didn't get one in, we got a second bite of the cherry when we sent it out again, and it was significantly far too high. We have to obviously reallocate funding for that, but I'm sure the project will still be looked at.
Very good, thank you, councillor Brophy. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No. Councillor James, closing comments?
No, thanks, yeah.
Very good, we'll now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 18 of the agenda, item 11.2, November 2022 monthly financial report. There is a recommendation. Can I please have the councillor put that forward as a motion?
Okay, I would like to move the recommendation on page 18 as a motion, which says that the council receive and note the November 2022 monthly financial report as attached.
Thank you, councillor Abdullah. Can I have a councillor second that motion? Councillor Brophy.
I second that motion.
Very good, councillor Abdullah, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. Very briefly, this is a regular feature of our meetings where we look at the financial report, monthly financial report, and basically it gives us an understanding of what we had budgeted and how we are tracking against that budget and where we have seen variations. This month's report, the financial report in November 2022, is showing us that the adopted budget, which projected an operating deficit of $21 million, it is now showing that this deficit is sitting at $19 million, which means that in a way there is an improvement in the operating deficit. However, the point to be noted is that it is still a deficit. And to be a financially, and as I've said earlier that in my previous meetings, that to be a financially sustainable organization, our organization needs to achieve an operating surplus position. And we know that there are external pressures such as inflation, natural disasters, and other global developments that are impacting our financial performance, and they are putting additional strains on council's financial sustainability. I just want to highlight that, of course, some of the factors that are contributing to this operating deficit are cost pressures due to inflation, COVID-19. We are still recovering from COVID-19, where user fees, income from user fees were declining, and they still haven't gone back to pre-COVID stage, pre-COVID levels. We have a limitation of rate revenues falling to 0% rate rises, as we had decided, but obviously it has impacted, it has contributed to this operating deficit. Council's year-to-date performance is favourable compared to the budget, mainly due to the receipt of state government funding in support of flood recovery, and for which expenditure is still to be incurred. I think that's about it. The report I've seen, and and during our briefing, we had asked several questions, and it's there for everyone to read and understand. But that's all for now.
Very good. Thank you, councillor Abdullah. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sali. Can I first compliment and pay kudos to their financial team? We're sort of at the halfway point nearly of the financial and fiscal year, so they've done a very amazing job. And look, we receive consistent and data-driven updates at council briefings throughout the year, and the finance officers will always avail themselves to councillors if needed, if we need any further clarification. So hats off there for a start. The upside to the report that's come out is the decrease, as Councillor Abdullah alluded to, the decrease in the operating deficit from the 21 million on the adopted budget to see in the first quarter down to $19 million, so just over $2 million. So that's a good report. However, there are many factors contributing to it, and it still will be a roller coaster ride for the 12 months financially, with the flood event impact analysis still to come, as well as accounting adjustments, including federal government funding when that is actually received. So sometimes that can throw the figures out a little bit as well. In terms of the capital works, the adopted budget of $62 million has actually increased on the forecast from the first quarter to $68 million. Nearly $68 million, yet the increase from the government grants has only increased by about $500,000 to up to 42 million. So obviously there's a shortfall there in terms of us having to increase our capital works, but also not receiving government funding to boost that as well. But look, it is really important that we be fiscally responsible, and I certainly applaud the finance team on this particular report. So thank you.
Very good, councillor Brophy. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Any councillors that would like to speak for the motion?
No, Sally, yes, just please, thank you. Again, I think Councillor Brophy and Councillor Bill covered all the detail pretty well, and I don't want to go over the same things. I just want to say that when we see a deficit of 21.6 back to 19.46, that's a movement in the right direction, which is great. However, it's still a deficit which I don't think we're really used to in this council. Having said that, for all the reasons that the other councillors mentioned, that's what's actually caused this figure to be where it is. However, I don't think we should panic. I have faith in our organisation that ultimately we're very sound financially. We still are. Our assets well outweigh any deficits that we may have. It's quite small compared to our total council assets. So it's just something we have to keep an eye on. I know the organisation is. At the end of the day, ultimately, if the figure is going in the wrong direction, which it's not, you just tighten the belt. So there's ways that can be brought in very easily if we need to. So we're keeping an eye on it, and that it's moving in the right direction.
Okay, very good. Thank you, councillor. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No. Councillor Bill, any closing comments?
No, thanks.
Very good. Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried. Opposed? Councillors, we now go to page 22, item 11.3, councillor representation on committees. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sali. Can I please move as printed on pages 22, 23, 24 of the agenda with the following changes. That under point 1 of the CEO remuneration review, where it says vacant councillor, to be the inclusion of Councillor Anthony Brophy in that particular slot. Can I also have on page 23, under point 3, the removal of the Goulburn Valley Local Government Waste Forum, to which Councillor Spinks was the nominated representative there, if that can be removed. And also, can we please continue?
All right. We might have it that someone else nominate you to go on the CEO remuneration.
That would be better.
We've still got to vote it, but we'll give it to someone else.
Do you want to call for that particular?
We'll rewind and I'll
Break up the motion.
Yeah. You finish and then.
Okay, right. And can I please also add to that particular recommendation to add the LGBTIQ plus Advisory Committee with Councillor Summer as the councillor representative.
Very good, councillor Brophy. Can I please have someone second that motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I'll second the motion.
Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. Yes, the allocation of these committees to councillors are really very important, as are most advisory committees anywhere. It is a twofold benefit. Firstly, the councillors that are on these committees can give valuable insight and advice during the particular meetings, and councillors can also then report back to council on matters pertaining to those individual committees. Many councillors are matched with their passion and their skill set to the appropriate committees, so that's always pleasing to see. Of the ones that I've been associated with, can I say that the commitment and the breadth of knowledge and experience of the volunteers that form these particular committees is absolutely outstanding. And one particular one I'd like to mention is the Calder Woodburn Memorial Avenue Advisory Committee, which has been reactivated after a 4-year hiatus, so it was very pleasing to be able to go along to their meeting and kick off with some very incredibly experienced people and very passionate people who put their hand up to be. Thank you.
Councillor Brophy. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sally. Yeah, these committees are an indication of how and what councillors do, actually. This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. We all should have 2 or 3 or 4, depending on, as Councillor Brophy said, our passions. However, this is where we engage with the community to know exactly what is happening and what's needed. It's one component of that. Obviously, we engage with the community on many different levels, but I'd like to see a nice, fair spread across these committees. I know this is sort of temporary. I think when a new councillor comes on board in a month or so, they may be revisited, potentially. I'm sure they will. As a new councillor, whoever that may be, will need to take some of these committees on as well. So, having said that, as it stands, I support it.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Are there any councillors? I'm going to...
Can I suggest something?
Well,
What would you like to suggest?
No, Mr Mayor, can I just suggest that with Councillor Brophy's consent that he might like to move the motion as he put, but
Exclude.
leave that as vacant. Another councillor might like to, during the conversation, nominate Councillor Brophy to that position and ask him to add that to his motion, and then you've still got Councillor Brophy moving that.
Is it an amendment, Peter?
No, it's a change to the motion, which is allowed for in
The amendment process.
Yeah, would cover that.
Is that?
well, if you want to do it, you can.
point of clarification, aren't we all appointing ourselves to all of the committees? So we either all have conflicts or...
We're voting, we're not moving the motion.
Well, we're voting to appoint though, so surely that's within the realm of that.
Slight distinction, but you're eventually getting to that point.
I can move an amendment if that.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks.
May I move an amendment?
Yes.
I'd like,
Would your amendment like to be?
Amendment with the mover of the motion?
Once you state what the amendment is.
I have to say amendment.
Councillor Spinks, what is the amendment?
I would like to move that in item 1, the CEO Remuneration Review Committee, that Councillor Brophy is added as a councillor representative in the vacancy.
Councillor Brophy, do you accept that amendment?
I do, thank you.
Do we need a seconder to the amendment? Or not?
Once he accepts that. We got there in the end. Very good.
Do we need to vote on?
No, that's fine. Accepted. That now becomes the motion, which has obviously been moved and seconded already. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Very good. We'll now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried on opposed. Councillors, we now go to page 30 of the agenda, item 12.1, Small Town Festive Event Grant 2020. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Please, Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. Can I put forward the following recommendation that the council note the successful applicants awarded funding under the delegated authority for the Small Town Festive Events Grants Program as outlined below, and I won't read them all out.
Thank you, councillor Brophy. Can I have a councillor second that motion?
Second the motion, Mayor Sally.
Councillor Adam. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. The majority of these particular grants have been awarded for Christmas events, and for, when you look at the total figure, which is $7,000 over 9 locations, excluding Shepparton, that really is very good value for money. Each group or organisation rely on local volunteers and have put a lot of smiles on a lot of faces, a lot of families who have come together to share a community spirit, and that's absolute gold in my book. The excitement that I witnessed of the Littlies seeing the Jolly Red Man arriving at these particular events is very heartwarming, and especially as a number have been through some very tough times in recent months. So congratulations to the organisers and the participants and the community for attending.
Very good, councillor Brophy. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. Just quickly again, not a large amount of money, but it's shed over 9, as councillor Brophy said. I think this year more than ever, even though those amounts are small, they're really well accepted, obviously, and well needed, and I fully support it.
Councillor Adam, are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Sorry, any closing comments, councillor?
No, thank you.
No. We'll now go to vote. All those in favour? Motion carried and approved. Councillors, we now go to page 35 of the agenda, item 12.2, major and minor events grants, round 1, 2022-2023. As I mentioned, I do have a conflict for this particular item, and we now need to resolve to appoint a chair for this particular item. I would like to call for any nominations to be acted.
Mayor Sally, I'd like to nominate councillor James, please, to take the chair for this particular item.
Thank you, councillor Adam. Are there any other nominations? No? Councillor James, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, very happy to accept that nomination, thank you.
Very good. We'll now go to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you, councillor James. So I'll just note here that the council appoints councillor Greg James as the acting mayor for the period beginning when the mayor discloses his conflict of interest and vacates the chamber, and ending when the mayor returns to the chamber at the conclusion of consideration of item 12.2. I will now hand over the chair to councillor James as I have a conflict on item 12.2. Thank you, councillor James.
Obviously. So later, come back. Then have we got a quorum? Yeah.
Well, I could get some fun out of this. Thank you, councillor Adam, for that nomination and for sitting in for the mayor for this particular item. So, councillors, we have a recommendation on page 35 of the agenda, 12.2. It's about major and minor events grants, round 1, 2022-23. Could I have a councillor please move this recommendation?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the
Councillor
recommendation on page 35 that the council note the successful applicants awarded funding under delegated authority for round 1 of the 2022-2023 major and minor events grants program as outlined below. And of course, I won't read them all. There's quite a few there for a total of $26,861.
Thank you, councillor Adam. Could I have a second of the recommendation? Councillor Brophy.
Second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak on the...
No, councillor Adam would like to.
Councillor Adam, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, similar to the previous item, it's a vast array of different organisations that are getting smaller amounts of money. However, these amounts are necessary for them to flourish and to conduct these different events. As I said, the Albanian Muslim Society Shepparton have an annual Harvest Festival, which is very popular. It was great last year as well. We have Gold Valley Pride. They've also stepped up a lot of their activity in the last year or two, so I'm sure they appreciate the $5,000. Dookie and District Development Forum as well. It's only $500, but I'm sure that means a lot to that group as well. So I fully support this, and once again, I think it's needed, especially after this year that the hardships they've suffered by the floods and at the end of COVID, which technically is still with us. However, so people are still suffering, not as much as they were. However, I think it's a great program we have here at council, and I fully support it.
Thank you, councillor Adam. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I would like to just point out that some very worthwhile grants for non-profit, and that I noted that it can be quite difficult to allocate these particular amounts. The budget for the fiscal year across the two funding rounds is a total of $45,000, which is round one was asked for of about nearly $36,000, but was only granted $27,000 of that $45,000 all up that we have. So that means there's a remaining pool of approximately $18,000 for round two. So I'm certainly not sure, and I'll probably follow it up, but I'm not sure about how some received maximum grants when they asked for it and others didn't. So, I mean, the organisation and what they're asked for and what their application were, involved in what they're asking for. But I will follow it up because it is very difficult when you're assessing that. And I've been on the different assessment panels before, so I do understand that. But it is a fantastic grants program, as Councillor Adam explained, and it will help so many groups. So very big tick from me.
Thank you, councillor Brophy. Are there any other councillors who'd like to speak for the motion? Okay, is there any other councillor who'd like to speak against the motion? Before we put it to the vote, councillor Adam, is there any other closing comments you'd like to make?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll put it to the vote, please. All those in favour? Thank you. Okay, we call the meeting back? Yes. Unfortunately, I'd like to stand.
You can suspend the meeting, but
Close the orders.
Do we need some formality around that, Pete? Just get up and sit down, that's it.
Thank you for that, councillor. Councillors, we now go to page 40 of the agenda, item 12.3, which is an extension of time request, IGA Newcastle Road. There is a recommendation. Can I have that put forward in the motion, please? Councillor Mover, please. Thank you, councillor.
Okay, so I'll move the recommendation on page 40. Yeah, that's the page 40, as a motion. And I will not read the whole recommendation, but it's as printed.
Great. Thank you, councillor Abdullah. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
I'll second that motion.
Councillor Abdullah, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, again, very briefly, I'll first just want to talk about the background of this recommendation. So basically, on the 27th of April 2018, a permit was issued to authorize the redevelopment of the IGA site on Nimerka Road, which is to allow a supermarket-based shopping center. And the conditions of the permit required that the development commence within 3 years of the date of the permit. Officers under delegation extended the commencement date to 4th August 2022. And on the 4th of August 2022, the permit holder applied to further extend the commencement date by 2 years, which means that if this extension is allowed, it would require that the development is started no later than 4th August 2024. So basically, once the extension request was received, council was in the process of discussing with the applicant and its legal experts about the application. So while all of this was happening, the applicant filed an application under Section 81 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987 on the basis that a decision regarding the extension had not been made. So an application has been lodged with the VCAT. Now, this particular recommendation or the motion under discussion is about council's resolution to set the responsible authority's position at the VCAT hearing. And the hearing is, I believe it's in January 2023. So we will be, through this motion, we will be resolving to have a position of the responsible authority. Now, the redevelopment of the IGA site has not progressed since 2018. No detailed designs have been developed, and since then, many things have changed since the permit was issued. Since the permit was last issued, there has been an amendment in planning scheme, Amendment C192, and under this amendment, Shepparton North is moved from designation of neighborhood and township centers to sub-regional center. So that's a major policy change. Officers have considered that the extension application, and they considered that the amendment, that this particular amendment C192 has actually changed the policy direction, and it's from focusing only on the development of the Fairley site to the North Shepparton. It is now more about the wider Shepparton North activity. It's the whole of Shepparton North Activity Centre. So that's one policy direction which has changed. Then I also understand, it's very obvious that North Shepparton's population has changed significantly, has grown significantly in these last 5 years, and it is continuing to grow. So we basically need those services and retail shopping offerings, and those services and those retail shopping offerings should evolve, and they must evolve to keep up with the demand, which is now there in Shepparton North Activity Centre. So given that, so the application has been considered, and officers have come back with the recommendation to not to form a position whereby the extension is not granted, and I am supporting this position because I believe that you know, by granting this extension, we would actually be denying our population, our community, especially our Shepparton North Activity Centre, we will be denying them the services and retail offerings that they need to have, that they should have. You know, we are talking about this medical center, this shopping center, which was supposed to have a medical center and a shopping center and other and a community center. So all those services, they are needed, and we have been, I think, not making any progress on the development has only shown that that the North Shepparton community has been denied access to those services. So that is one key reason that I believe that there is that the extension is not necessary given the situation, given the whole context in which this application is being considered. And looking at the application and the report, I do not feel that there is any convincing reason for the applicant to ask for that extension. So I am supporting officer's recommendation to have a council's position for that VCAT hearing, which says that that extension of the permit for IGA is not granted.
Thank you, Councillor Abdullah. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Saleh. Councillor Abdullah really did sum it up very well in terms of chronologically around what's transpired. Can I say that I support the IGA supermarket in Shepparton North financially as a customer and also strategically in location, and have for many years. But that's not the issue here. The issue here is appears complex. But after the briefings and the documents that I have read, you know, it really just appears to be a clear case of non-political filibustering or warehousing the permit to proceed. I can conclude no other practical reasoning why not to proceed with this particular building. Many people have put down, you know, delays because of COVID, but this can't certainly be put down as a delay for COVID, because if you think about it, the two industries that have done very well and kept going through the COVID period was the building construction industry and also supermarkets. So I would have thought that they would have got on with it. So So why hasn't this been acted upon? Only the proponents can really answer that accurately, and council has every right, as they've put forward, to deny the extension of the permit, to refuse that particular extension. I look at it and say, look, if they want to go ahead with it, get on with it. And the residents in North Shepparton want to see an expansion. The need is there. Otherwise, cancel that permit and issue a new one when they're ready.
Very good, thank you, councillor Brophy. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Councillors that would like to speak for the motion?
Mr. Mayor Sali, again, this is going back a few years. This has got some historical baggage to it, this particular issue. Jay at the road there. I stand corrected, but this particular permit that they're applying for has been the last 4 years, the dates that Councillor Abdullah said. But prior to that, there was another permit that was issued and was extended more than once from memory. So this whole project, in a sense, different projects technically, has been with council for probably the better part of 9 or 10 years, I'm guessing. I'm not getting any affirmative nods from the CEO there, but as I said, I stand corrected.
Are you seeking clarification?
Well, I could seek clarification.
And I wouldn't wish to add unless I had the facts in front of me, so I'll leave it at that.
As I said, I stand corrected if I'm incorrect, but it's around that time frame. That being said, I think we recognise, council have recognised for many years now that we do need another supermarket or an expanded one on the northern side of Midland Highway. We have 4 or 5 on the southern side, only 1 on this side. And I think the catchment is about, from memory, it's about 25,000 to 30,000 people, because of the fact that Maribna, I think, gets categorised in Shepparton North in the planning in respect to supermarkets. That all said, as Councillor Brophy said, the grounds that council's position, or the adopted position that we will have, I think are solid. One of the points that the permit holder appears to be warehousing the permit. I tend to agree with that. But that all said, again, they still have an opportunity, if this is successful at VCAT from our point of view, the actual applicant can still apply for a new permit for a similar development. It may have different conditions upon it, but they still have the option to do that if they're not successful in this one. That being said, I fully support our position.
Thank you, councillor. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No. Councillor Abdullah, any closing comments?
No, thanks.
Very good. Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried and closed. Councillors, we now go to page 51 of the agenda, item 12.4, Community Sustainability Grants, round 1, 2022 to 2023. There is a recommendation. Members of the council to go forward as a motion.
Thank you, Mayor Sali. I put forward the recommendation that the council note applicants awarded funding under the delegated authority for round 1 of the 2022-2023 Community Sustainability Grants Program as follows. I won't read them all out.
Thanks, Councillor Brophy. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please?
I'll second that motion.
Councillor Springs. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Look, just, I won't say briefly because I do have got a couple of things to say on it. It's fantastic. This sustainability grants really, I think, as Councillor Adams said before, where the rubber hits the road, it actually does fulfil funding needs of particular community groups that wouldn't ordinarily find funding elsewhere. And in particular, can I draw to the attention, it does say on the recommendation there was 2 applications received, but we've given 3 lots of grant funding out, and that doesn't make any sense, but it certainly does if you're given a little bit more context in and around it. And can I mark that where it's been asterisked, the Dookie Memorial Hall Community Asset Committee for their heating upgrade. I've been in that hall and I've been in there in winter, and it certainly needed a heating upgrade before. Saw the play Dookie there, written by John Head, fantastic. So the Memorial Hall upgrade project, can I say, it's a multi-faceted funding program here, because the project put in an application which was received through the Community matching grants program. And as a whole, the assessment panel looked at the program and agreed that the funds were available, and that it couldn't be fully funded because the program was oversubscribed. So they were asking for $5,000 contribution, of which they got $2,000 from the community matching grants program. And as a result, it was proposed that the project was eligible and had sufficient funds available, if there were, with the particular community sustainability grant. And the assessment panel looked at the criteria and looked at the application put forward, and they were able to then match that with an additional $3,000, which brought the total project, which they'd originally asked for $5,000, of which they're contributing a further $5,000 from the community. Can I say, it sounds a bit of a mouthful there, but well done to the panels that looked at that and saw the bigger picture and thought outside the box about how can this particular project be funded in the best available way. So well done to the Dookie community in being malleable in terms of the particular funding grants. Well done to the council officers and well done to the assessment panels. Great outcome for all of them concerned, including the Greater Shepparton Lighthouse project and the Tatura Scouts as well.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. Just to say, this is a great grant program, one of many that we have, but I particularly enjoy this one because of its importance. However, it continues to be undersubscribed, and I do want to raise once again that I do wonder if that is because the amounts are too low. Maybe the criteria is too small. I'm not sure what it is. It just does continue to be undersubscribed, and while you could call it a win if we underspend in some areas, ultimately I think there's such great value in this grant program that I do think it's worth just always raising that it's worth reviewing why that is happening. But of course, congratulations to those who have received grants.
Councillor Spinks, thank you. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Brophy, any closing comments before we go to the vote?
No, thank you.
Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried and opposed. Councillors, we now go to page 57 of the agenda, item 12.5, which is awarding of grants under the Heritage Conservation 2022-2023. There is a recommendation. Let's have a councillor put that forward as a motion. Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Saley. I put forward the recommendation, which is on page 57, the recommendation that the council note the successful applicants of the Greater Shepparton Heritage Conservation Grants Program 2022-2023, as outlined below, GST inclusive. I won't read them all out.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Can I have a councillor second that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. As opposed to the previous one we spoke about, this is an oversubscribed particular funding stream. And look, I have to remind myself that this particular funding thing is about conservation and heritage protection. This is what it's all about, because in the past I've looked at it and I've thought private residents, you know, does that really stack up against what public interests are there? So the funding round was for $80,000. We've actually oversubscribed and allocated of $91,000. Now, this worried me initially that does this oversubscription apply to different grants that we have as well? And I think not, or else our budget would be in a very sad state of affairs. But it's difficult to assess, as I said, public buildings versus privately owned buildings. You know, should some of these privately owned ones be funded by the owners for their maintenance that they need to do with the public purse? But again, I remind myself that this is about conservation and it's about heritage and protection and that. And I see the worth, and I also been watching very closely these particular projects, and virtually everyone that's listed down there is either a previous church or it's a previous office building that has been really recognised as being, you know, a heritage-based building. So I think this particular funding round hit the stream, and it does tell us that if it's oversubscribed, then we may have to look at either increasing that or that it's a very successful program and it's been promoted very well.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor Spinks. Any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Adam.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Saley. Just in part, just to reiterate what Councillor Brophy said, in respect to his concern about the oversubscription and the fact that Do we encourage the private owners of these properties to invest in these repairs as such? And I'm sure they already are to a degree. However, I suppose from their point of view, we're putting these heritage overlays over these properties. So to a degree, we're I shouldn't use the word dictating, but we're controlling to a degree what they can do on those properties. So I think that we should be involved in the actual funding of a portion of maintaining and conserving these properties. Just so that it doesn't get out of hand, as Councillor Brophy said, so we're keeping a good eye on it, but I can see these different addresses. They're all over the district. They're not just in one particular area. So hopefully this money will go towards maintaining the property and hopefully having it look like it did in its heyday and maintain that moving forward.
Thanks, Councillor Adam. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Brophy, any closing comments?
No, thank you.
We now go to vote. All those in favour? Motion carried unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 63 of the agenda, item 12.6, which is the proposed lease of land to Kids Undercover to realise a Village 21 development. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I'd like to move that the council, having undertaken a community engagement process in accordance with section 115 of the Local Government Act 2020, 1, receive and note the contents of the submissions received or heard and council officers' responses outlined in the conversation report, proposed lease of land at 20 to 22 Perryvale Drive, Shepparton, December 2022 as attached. 2, endorse the leasing of council-owned land at 20 to 22 Perryvale Drive, Shepparton to Kids Undercover for a term of 10 years at a peppercorn rental of $1 per annum excluding GST, with a single option to renew to realise a Village 21. 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate and enter into an agreement for lease and lease with Kids Undercover to realise a Village 21, provided further that Kids Undercover provides evidence of funding for its proposal before 31 December 2023. 4, inform all submitters of Council's decision in relation to this matter. And 5, keep submitters informed in relation to the announcement of any future funding to realise this project.
Thank you so much, Councillor Spinks. Councillor, second that motion, please.
I'll second the motion, Mayor Sally. Thank you.
Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I would. I absolutely support this proposal. This time 12 months ago began a theme of social housing that has truly been a journey. Disappointingly, a journey that has delivered very little in outcomes, but today we can hopefully change that. A year ago, we knew that Greater Shepparton had one of the highest rates of homelessness in our state, and that stat has only gotten worse since then. After a year of ridiculous inflation, rent rises, and of course the flood disaster, more of us than ever have found ourselves in or on the edge of the housing crisis, and our young people are feeling this the most. I am so proud that this Kids Undercover initiative is wanting to come to Shepparton to give 6 of our young people, and ultimately many more, a place to start their adult lives with safety and support to build their independence. I personally have witnessed the challenge of a young person trying to find a home of their own, as my 19-year-old cousin has spent the last almost 2 years trying to find a rental, but having it become completely unattainable due to a number of factors. Low apprentice wages, high rental costs, and a saturated rental market that leaves young people stereotyped as an undesirable tenant option. However, my cousin is fine because he has a loving and supportive family home that he can stay in as long as he needs. However, there are so many that do not have this essential home base to fall back on, and that is exactly who this initiative serves to support and the gap that it seeks to fill. For the young person who does not have a warm and welcome home base, this initiative will provide the individual space to start their lives out of home, with the communal space and mentor support to not do it by themselves. However, as well-serving and much needed as this development may be, it has still attracted objections. And unfortunately, the majority of the concerns are carbon copies of the much larger objection campaign that we witnessed earlier in the year. I think we need to take responsibility for the role that we have played in supporting the stigma that surrounds these type of developments and the impact it has on the human beings whose welfare hangs in the balance. We also need to recognise that if this development is suitable here, then it would be suitable anywhere. It is not for the lower socioeconomic areas to always carry the burden of sharing what little they have, and it is time for those who have more to start sharing better. This proposed development is simply housing, filled with neighbours. The attachment of the word social or affordable creates a hugely negative stereotype, but it really just means someone who needs a little extra support to have a roof over their head. And to need social or affordable housing is not a failure of the individual, but I would argue of the system and society that has made the most basic of needs and the simple cost of staying alive increasingly out of reach for our fellow community members. And so knowing that the need is real, and I would argue urgent, and that those who would call this development home are simply fellow community members, I'd like to end on the positive and speak to the more general appropriateness of this location. This parcel of land up for debate is located within easy walking distance of public transport, of a local shopping strip and small supermarket, and also of green and sporting spaces. The block itself is quite large and will be easily able to support the Village 21 concept and will have minimal impact on traffic and surrounding infrastructure. The development also aligns with our policy positions in needing to increase density where possible and to provide housing diversity with a known shortage of smaller dwellings like this. And finally, it also happens to be in my neck of the woods. I know the area well and I absolutely love living there. We may be a low-income area and many of us may even be struggling ourselves, but we have access to all of the essentials and we have the rich diversity that brings kindness and life to a neighbourhood. It may not be next door to me, but my kids will catch the school bus just around the corner, the residents will probably walk past my house to go to the shops, and we might even wander past when I'm walking the dog. No NIMBYism here, absolutely in my backyard. And if this development is supported tonight, I welcome our new neighbours with open arms. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor Spence. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Well, I did have some thoughts, Mr Mayor, in regards to this issue, but Councillor Spence has covered everything, really. I really can't add to that. I fully support it, absolutely. It's about time we take some action, and this is a great step moving forward. I hope to see a real result very shortly. I think they've got till the end of December of next year to get this up and running. I presume they will, and I just commend them for doing it, and I'll commend this council for hopefully approving this here tonight.
Very good, thank you, councillor Adam. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. Earlier this year, this proposal was put before council and adopted. The model stacked up, the support, the control, the safeguards haven't changed. The components haven't changed. The clientele haven't changed. The only thing that's changed is just the location. If privately owned, we wouldn't even see this come before council. It would just be there. I would like to thank the submitters for their submissions, particularly those that are objecting, the residents there. I have read and I have listened to them, and I do understand their concerns. I am buoyed by this particular proposal put forward, as I was when it was earlier this year. With the prospect of this project, I can see additional type supported accommodation projects being undertaken in Greater Shepparton. I'm also very pleased that the property in question will only have approximately 25% space used for this particular project. Therefore, the remaining 75% will be there for recreational / green space, that's what a lot of the residents were asking for as well. And you know, it aligns with our affordable housing strategy, and I would hope that the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee would endorse these types of imaginative proposals in the future. And so therefore, should this not be passed, this particular motion tonight, I have the ultimate question. If not here, where? Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Brophy. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No? Yeah, councillor Brewer.
Thank you. Yes, I just want to start by saying, of course, saying the obvious, that this project is supporting young people who are in the out-of-home care system, who are at risk of homelessness and at the end of their foster care arrangement. It addresses youth homelessness. It aims to accommodate 6 young people between the ages of 18 to 21 who have exited foster care. And the construction of the units is proposed to be on the vacant council land, which is currently in general residential zone. It is located within an existing residential area, and it's identified as a reserve for open space purposes. The site location is appropriate for such housing. It is close to excellent amenities to future residents, as Councillor Spinks has highlighted. So given the alarming statistics of homelessness in Greater Shepparton and the escalating lack of affordable and social housing supply, we definitely need to make an all-out effort to facilitate such projects. Utilizing council land for affordable housing projects is an important way in which council can have a real and tangible contribution and impact in addressing the urgent need for housing in Greater Shepparton. Like the previous social housing projects, council has followed the community consultation process in this instance, and invited the community to make submissions. The council received 1 early submission, 19 submissions later, and then 3 verbal presentations during the consultation period, which most of the councillors were there during that verbal presentation. Council officers have reviewed the submitters' concerns and responded to every concern. If you look at the report, the conversation report outlines, and it includes all the responses to submitters' concerns. So I encourage the submitters and other community members to read this report. I have reviewed the response, and I'm comfortable with the officer's response. A range of common themes were identified in all these submissions, such as that the proposed development is too dense, it may impact on the value of surrounding properties, its inappropriate location, it impacts on surrounding residential properties, and so basically these themes were quite similar to what this council has heard on the previous proposals. There was one theme which was sort of which most of the submitters had identified, and which was around crime and safety concerns. So most submitters had raised this concern. Objectives and objections like these, I believe that they are based on perceptions, and this is the stigma that we have seen in other social housing projects as well. We as a community need to tackle this stigma head on. Yes, we need to ensure that proper controls are in place and there are mechanisms to address safety concerns. And one such control is through the requirements of the Residential Tenancies Act, where the community housing associations managing the site can vacate the tenants from the property if they are making troubles. So those controls are there, and they've always been there. Therefore, I believe that we cannot and we should not block any efforts to materialize social housing projects, whether that project is in South Shepparton, North Shepparton, or in the CBD, just based on this stigma. I mean, we've heard some people asking the question that how can anyone in the community be opposed to someone getting a house that desperately needs it? So that's my question as well. And looking at this discussion and the report, I feel compelled to say that such stereotype notions and the stigma that we heard from submitters in this time, during this round of consultation, were perhaps reinforced by the previous outcomes in social housing proposals, especially when this year, this council decided not to go ahead with leasing its airspace for a social housing project in the CBD. As much as I am pleased to hear a generally positive vibe about this project in this room today, and where there were only 13 submissions against the project, mainly from the neighboring community members, and not 700 or so submissions, I do wonder if the same valuable and much needed support would have been provided had it been in the middle of the CBD. We all need a moment of truth, I believe. About the submitters' concerns, I want to remind them, in the words of Voltaire, that don't let perfect to be the enemy of good. Yes, I acknowledge that there will be inconveniences, to some inconveniences that might remain, but this should not be the reason to cancel this project or projects similar to this nature. Because if that is so, nothing can ever be built anywhere. Refusing this proposal and proposals like these will in no way address the stigma around social housing. Instead, it will only perpetuate it. I've said this before, and I would like to say this again. And it's, for us, it's not good enough to keep talking about the need for social housing. I believe I have to stop
it.
at this point. That's it. I can go on and on, as you know, but I will stop here. I will wholeheartedly support this project.
Very good, thank you, councillor. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor James?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Sally. I was very impressed with this concept when it was first presented to us quite some time ago. And I wanted to thank the council officers for positioning and also Kids Undercover for as well, because there was a bit of to and fro and et cetera, and we went backwards and we came to an agreement. And I fully support this program. And I think, this it doesn't matter who, this is about supporting, 6 young community members in our community between age 18 and 21, whoever that may be. But it's about that real critical stage in regards to, they're at that crossroads in regards to their future direction. Well, the thing that really impressed me is the extended support and the supervision which is available at this complex too as well. And I think that is really something to seriously consider about too as well. It's the support and the supervision, whereas the perception may have been that these, residents are just on their own. Well, they're not. They do have the support, they do have the supervision there. And the other part of this project too, which really impresses me, is that it's transportable. If it's not working there, well, then it has the ability to then take it to another location too as well. So there is that component too as well, that if it isn't working there, the flexibility is we can take it to another location where it is required. And I think that's what impressed me about this. And it's a great project, and I think it'll work well. And I'd like to see more of it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor James. Before we go to any closing comments, councillor Spinks, I'll throw my support behind this proposal. I think it's a great concept. Kids Undercover proposal in some ways has been on our table for consideration since February with another location. Dean Court was identified as another possible location. They obviously investigated that site and felt that it wasn't appropriate for some reasons, and now focusing on Perivale Drive, which obviously ticks the boxes that they require. I think it's hard to compare this to existing proposals that have come across the table earlier this year. I think this model is great, and it fits the location appropriately, and I'm sure it'll have successful outcomes, and looking to get up and going as soon as possible and seeing actually what this concept looks like. So a lot's been mentioned, but yeah, I want to throw my support behind it as well. So councillor Spinks, any closing comments?
No.
Very good. Councillors, we'll now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 71 of the agenda, item 12.7, strategic plan 2023-2028 for council endorsement. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Councillor Spinks.
Thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation to a motion that the council, 1, acknowledge the feedback from public consultation, and 2, adopt the River Connect strategic plan 2023 to 2028 as attached.
Thank you, councillor Spinks. Are there any second that motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
I'll second that motion, Mayor Sally.
Thank you, councillor Spinks. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, very briefly, which I know we all say, but I just want to acknowledge this is just the next version of the strategic plan. River Connect, we've covered it before, we all know is an incredible collaborative committee that exists in our region. It's quite unique to our region, and the work that can come from the partnerships that are involved is really important, and I think goes under the radar a lot of the time, but this new strategic plan is really the next step. So much work's been done up until this moment, and this is really directing it into the next phase of what River Connect looks like. And to borrow a term from our mayor, truly a power of work has been put into this strategic plan. The River Connect officers deserve full acknowledgement for the work that they've done, and I'm very happy to support this.
Councillor Spinks. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sali. Certainly endorsing Councillor Spinks there. River Connect, like in recent months, we've experienced a connection with the river, in some cases closer than ever before. Many of Greater Shepparton cities are actually built alongside rivers and waterways, and really water is life. So the River Connect is a very important strategic document for us. Read through the strategy, it's comprehensive, it's purposeful, it's about participation. It includes obviously the environment, collaboration, inclusiveness. It includes and enables traditional owners, the ongoing connection with the land and the river as well, and it celebrates the shared experience. And I applaud those who put this document together. It reads so well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? No? Councillor.
Thanks, Ms. Sally. Again, I will be very brief. I just want to read out one portion of the report detail, which I think encapsulates the whole River Connect plan. River Connect is a wide-reaching community government partnership program under the auspice of council. The program has enabled partners from local government, land management agencies, traditional owners, educational organisations, stakeholders and community members to come together to identify and action shared priorities. And I think that sums it up, is what they're about. Their relationship with all these other partners is crucial to its success. We've had briefings over the last few weeks, which that was very well explained to us, and I fully get that, and I think that's the key. And as I understand, council are really engaging well with all these other authorities, and I think that's going to continue. And this particular strategic plan for the next 5 years, is it? Yes, 5 years. I think we'll continue down that road of positive engagement and positive outcomes.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Are there any councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No. Councillor Spinks?
Thank you.
We now go to vote. All those in favour? Motion carried on opposed. Councillors, we now go to page 77 of the agenda, item 12.8, River Connect Implementation Advisory Committee, representatives for appointment. There is a recommendation. Can I please have someone put that forward as a motion? Councillor Spinks.
Thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation to a motion that the council, 1, appoint the following community representatives to the River Connect Implementation Advisory Committee: Kimberly Chu, Bruce Cumming, Paul Huckett, Rod McLennan and Jay Whitaker, and 2, note that the period is 3 years, commencing 21st December 2022 and concluding 20 December 2025.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks. Can I have Councillor second that motion?
Second this motion.
Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, yes. I would like to welcome our new committee members to this committee, our community representatives. I'm very proud to have chaired this for the last couple of years, and it's great to see our community representatives play a really important role. You have all of the key stakeholders of the region at the table, but it's these community representatives that come along and share their passion and their knowledge with us that I really do not take for granted. Bruce, Rod and Jay are returning, and I thank them for their continued spot as a community representative on this committee, and I welcome Kimberly and Paul, and I will hopefully get to meet them tomorrow. We'll have our first meeting. And I'd also like to take the opportunity to recognise outgoing community representative Pat Feehan and thank him for his contributions to the River Connect Implementation Advisory Committee over the past 7 years. Pat has made a considerable impact as a community representative, and we appreciate the time and effort he has contributed to the program. So with the change over, I look forward to meeting our new committee members and community representatives and continuing the important work that we do.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks. Councillor Abdullah, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. I would also like to acknowledge the hard work that our community representatives they perform on this committee. I'm also a council representative on this committee, and we have just in our previous agenda item we have seen that the River Connect strategy that has been developed and now passed. You know how much effort, how much energy, and how much passion went into the development of that strategy, and it was all because of those community representatives and other representatives, organizational representatives who sit on this advisory committee. So I would also like to thank the outgoing members, and I also want to say welcome to our new members, especially Kimberly and Paul. who are new to this committee, and in particular, I'm very pleased to see that this committee, saying Kimberly Chu being nominated on this committee, it is very pleasing to see that our community members from our newly arrived migrant communities, they are also getting engaged in these mainstream events and forums. And I'm very pleased to see that Kimberly has taken the initiative, and also Paul, who is going to be a new member on this committee. So with that, I just want to say thanks to all the current members and welcome to the newly appointed members.
Thank you, Councillor Abdullah. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Closing comments, Councillor Spink?
No, thank you.
Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried and opposed. Councillors, we now go to page 81 of the agenda, which is item 13, Infrastructure Director received. Item 14, documents for signing and sealing, nil received. We turn the page to page 82 of the agenda, item 15.1.1, councillor activities, November 2022. Councillors, there is a recommendation. Can I please have someone move that motion? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I move the recommendation that the council receive and note the summary of the councillors' community interactions and informal meetings of councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Can I have a councillor second?
I'll second that motion, Mayor Sally.
Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sally. Look, it appears, council activities is just a footnote that's in the agenda. But can I again use one of your vernaculisms that there is a power of work behind that. A lot of people turn up to it, and it's certainly an honour to be invited to that. Looking through the particular activities there, I can say that virtually everything that I attended, as many as I could in 2 years, to nearly everything that I was invited to. And now it's not just me, it's my fellow councillors. We as a councillor team, we really turn up to virtually everything as a group, and it's really very impressive to see that, that we turn up, we show up and we participate, and it's well done to all. Can I pick out one in particular, Mayor Sally, that in regards to, there's a local government conference that was held in Sydney, which both yourself and I attended, and to take in what other local governments are doing around Australia, and particularly in regional ones, was very, very valuable, particularly in regards to parking strategies, in regards to smart communities, in regards to information technology and AI, that some of the local government initiatives, some of their engagements and some of their major projects, we were able to glean what they're actually doing and how that can benefit us here. The resources and the technology that is available to ensure that we are making the best of our own resources here, and to really open our eyes to the possibilities to enhance Greater Shepparton, really came home to roost. So we've been able to bring a lot of that back to us, to our different directors and to different departments, and see where we can go with that. But a very valuable one, as are all the activities we've been invited to.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sally. I think I just want to compare this OCM's interaction list as with last month's. It was dominated by flood events, but this one still has a few, obviously. But I think it's an indication of how we're back on our feet and moving forward by the size of all these different, of the list of these events that we've attended. A lot of them are indicative of Shepparton's getting back on its feet, back to business and moving ahead. So, as I said, it's a great indicator. It's a longer list. I just hope it gets longer and longer as we go forward as well.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? And any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Closing comments, Councillor Brophy?
No, thank you, Mayor Sally.
Councillors, will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried and opposed. Councillors, we go to page 84 of the agenda, item 15.2.1, Murray-Darling Association Region 2 Annual Report 2022. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please?
Yes, Sally, I'll move the motion printed on page 84 that the report from Councillor Jeff Dobson be noted.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Very briefly, obviously, if Councillor Dobson were here, I'm sure he would have some commentary around this, because he's done some great work there. Unfortunately, he's not here, so we've missed that opportunity to hear him speak about this. It's an important subject, obviously. It's something that's featured in our economy here for the last 80 years. it's very controversial with respect to where our water is, where's it going, how much can we retain. So Councillor Dobson would have had a lot more detail around that. I know he's doing a lot of work. He's doing some great work there, and it's an event in progress that's continually changing. State, federal governments are always changing different aspects of it. There's a lot of community groups involved, and Jeff is on one of the more major ones, the MDA Association here. So, yeah, we'll just note the report, and I hope everyone reads it and understands how important it is.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to just once again recognise the work that Councillor Dobson does on this committee. He is very dedicated and passionate about this subject, and I thank him for continuing to provide these reports. By doing it in the council meeting is an excellent way for the wider community to be able to see this and know what's going on as well. So I thank him for his efforts.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Bradford.
Thank you, Mayor Sali. Just very quickly, and it is very quickly, that I note here that all the things that Councillor Dobson had attended throughout that particular period of time is quite overwhelming. And again, as Councillor Spinks said, the dedication that he's put and the commitment he's put into it is huge. Region 2, he's looking at seeking re-election as chair for the ensuing year, and I hope that that's achieved. And just a note, if he's watching, get well soon, Jeff.
Very good, Councillor Brophy. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No? I might, just before we go to any closing comments, again, thank Councillor Dobson for his continued feedback that he brings to the table regarding his commitment to arguably the most important asset to our region and conversation that we constantly have, I should say, around water. So yes, Councillor Dobson, if you are watching, thanks for your ongoing pressure and support around this important matter. So, closing comments, Councillor Adam?
No, thank you.
We'll now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried and opposed. Councillors, we now go to page 86 of the agenda, item 15.3, notice of motion, amendment or rescission nor received. Item 16, urgent business not included on the agenda. Nor received. Do we have any urgent business arising? No. Before I do close the meeting, I might just take this very brief opportunity on behalf of my fellow councillors, our executive Peter Harrod, and the many executive and staff that are just sitting over here to my left. I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a happy and safe New Year. I think as a collective we couldn't be more proud of our community in regards to what we faced through the year, in particular the flood event, but we also shared many proud moments as well together, things that we should be celebrating as well, things like being awarded inclusion into the Commonwealth Games, regional Commonwealth Games, which I think is a proud moment. But take care of yourself over this festive season, spend quality time with family and friends, and reach out to people that perhaps you haven't spoken to in a while. But again, on behalf of the Greater Shepparton City Council, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Merry
We'll
Christmas.
now close the meeting at 4:27 p.m.